She felt deep embarrassment, openly, directly in the boardroom. Due to the company's dress code, she wore a simple white shirt, an unbranded black pencil skirt, worn flats, and kept her hair loosely tied back, without any makeup. Nora Wells had intended only to present a stack of documents and leave discreetly. However, before she could enter, a taunting voice called out, "Sweetheart, restrooms to the left, billion-dollar boardrooms to the right, don't get lost." The room erupted in laughter. Another person gestured to security, sharply requesting, "Could someone please escort her out? We can't allow back-office personnel to participate in brainstorms." She remained still, visibly surprised, but kept her gaze fixed on the executive who had snapped his fingers, the very same man who had previously mistakenly taken her email pitch deck and presented it as his own. But they were mistaken. The woman who had just been removed from the boardroom was the fiancée of the man who had recently acquired the company where they all worked, and tonight's urgent shareholders meeting would prove to be the most costly experience of their careers. Nora Wells resided in a simple Brooklyn apartment, a fifth-floor walk-up featuring squeaky stairs and a window that shook in the breeze. At 34, she was reconstructing her life following a divorce that left her possessing only a suitcase and a determination to be self-reliant. She held a temporary secretarial position at Vantage Corp, a technology company known for its competitive atmosphere and modern glass-walled offices. Her workspace was a corner cubicle, cluttered with memos that went unread, and her days were filled with coffee deliveries and photocopying tasks. She expressed no complaints, desiring neither sympathy nor attention. She simply aimed to progress steadily, with small, deliberate actions. Just prior to the boardroom incident, Nora was in the Vantage Corp break room, replenishing a coffee pot for a meeting to which she hadn't received an invitation. A collection of analysts entered the room, their conversation ceasing as they noticed her. One, a woman in a tailored suit named Claire, gave a mocking smile. "Look, it's the office cleaner. Still employed?" Her companions chuckled, one of them discarding an empty creamer carton towards the wastebasket, causing it to fall close to Nora's feet. "Retrieve that, please," he said with a playful wink. Claire moved closer, speaking with enough volume for others to overhear. "Honestly, why is she even present? Temporary workers like her diminish the company's image." A manager walked by and quietly laughed, saying, "Focus on your duties, Nora, not fantasies." A ripple of quiet amusement spread through the room, with glances directed at Nora as she deliberately cleaned the counter, her hands sure, but her jaw clenched. She remained silent, showed no reaction, simply completed her task and departed, the sound of their laughter following her like a lingering scent. The break room seemed confined, her sense of self challenged, yet she continued, present but unyielding. Just 11 months prior, she had encountered Asher Wells within a dusty bookstore, both extending their hands toward the identical, well-worn copy of Kierkegaard. He presented as quiet, wearing faded jeans, wire-rimmed glasses, and possessing a smile that felt familiar. They engaged in conversation for hours, philosophical discussions intertwined with laughter, and by the time they departed, Nora's self-imposed restriction against rapid attachment began to weaken. Asher seemed different. He did not display his affluence, although she perceived it through subtle details, like the quality of his watch, which he never mentioned. She never inquired about his financial status. It held no importance to her. Following the pain of her previous relationship, she had resolved to rely on no one. Affection, in her view, meant partnership, not dependence. Nora concealed her employment, even from Asher. When he questioned her about her day, she would reply, "Just paperwork," and redirect the discussion toward literature or aspirations. She preferred it that way. Her difficulties were personal, not his responsibility to resolve. At Vantage Core, she remained unobtrusive, a temporary worker who merged seamlessly into the environment. Her white shirt was clean but unremarkable, her skirt purchased at a discounted price, her flats worn from journeys on the subway, her chestnut hair, habitually tied back loosely, highlighted a face that possessed a natural radiance, despite the fact that no one at the firm acknowledged it. They perceived her as insignificant, unaware that she was once the founder of an AI startup, built entirely from scratch, only to have it taken from her. One morning, Nora was assigned the job of organizing mail within Vantage Core's main office, a glass enclosure where executives displayed their influence. While walking past, Paul Cantor noticed her and called out, "Hey, delivery girl, do you have anything for me? Are you just here to appear busy?" His laughter attracted attention, with assistants smiling from their workstations. He bent down, quickly looking through her stack, dropping envelopes without care. "Bet you don't even know what's in these. Big money stuff, not your level." A coworker added, "Yeah, stick to basic supplies and coffee, sweetheart." Someone quickly shared a video online, showing her dropping the mail, a classic blunder. Criticism accumulated, questions arose about her presence. Nora continued her task, her movements accurate, her expression unreadable. A less experienced employee remarked, "She's like a fixture, helpful, unremarkable." The workspace resonated with derision, words that she neither avoided nor allowed to affect her. She completed her work, departed without a word, her resilience a hidden power they failed to recognize. On Wednesday, Nora was dispatched to the 42nd floor boardroom with a collection of funding reports. She had previously visited that location once, delivering pens, and understood the importance of brevity. The room exuded authority, with a mahogany table, floor-to-ceiling windows, and executives in tailored suits casually discussing billions as if they were small amounts. She tapped gently, but the door opened abruptly, interrupting a sentence and drawing unwanted attention. The development director, Greg Harlan, paused his presentation, his laughter suddenly brittle. "Restrooms are to the left, billion-dollar boardrooms to the right. Be careful not to get disoriented," he remarked. Amusement spread through the room, chairs groaning as heads turned. Nora held the reports tightly, her expression composed despite her accelerated pulse. Another executive, Paul Cantor, smirked, commenting that the janitorial staff these days showed considerable nerve. A third, Victor Reese, raised his coffee mug with a knowing look. "Take this back down, please," he said. "It's a bit watery." He added, "Next time knock before entering." The room erupted in renewed laughter, their gazes fixed on her as if she were an exhibit. The most difficult encounter was with Greg, the man who had taken her pitch deck 2 years prior. It was a neural net concept she had emailed in confidence, and she watched as he presented it as his own innovation at a conference. She had been working as a temporary employee then, voiceless and unable to challenge him. She offered a slight smile, a courteous nod, and turned to depart, her flats making no sound on the marble. There were no spoken words, no objections, only a sustained look that held Greg's gaze a moment too long. The door closed behind her, their laughter muted but still painful. Returning to her cubicle, she arranged the reports in an orderly fashion, her hands remaining calm. She exhibited no tears, no outbursts. She simply concluded her shift, her thoughts already focused elsewhere. She thought of Asher, their dinner arrangements, and the future she was constructing, patiently and deliberately. Following a late shift, Nora awaited the elevator, her arms laden with files she's been instructed to reorganize by a mocking manager. Victor Reese entered, his cologne noticeable, his phone held to his ear. He looked at her, a smirk playing on his lips, and said into the call, "Yeah, some temps are using the lift." He added, "I bet she's lost again." He ended the call, turning to her. "You know, Nora, you're like a ghost here. Nobody seems to notice you." His laugh was sharp, amplified by 2 assistants who followed him, one copying her weary stance. "Carrying all that junk? Is this a movie playing secretary?" Mother questioned. Someone nearby took a picture, sharing it online with the caption, "Temp life, sad and overloaded." Victor laughed, emerging as the doors slid open, playfully remarking, "Don't trip, dear. Wouldn't want you lingering." Nora remained motionless, her gaze unwavering, her quietness a defense. The elevator descended, its motor a low drone, carrying her downwards. Their unkindness was a burden she carried, but it didn't crush her. That afternoon, VantageCore's internal network failed due to a single email, urgent. Shareholder update. An unidentified fund had obtained 82% of the company's shares, taking effect immediately. Rumors spread quickly amongst the workstations. Would there be layoffs? Word of potential bankruptcy prompted an emergency board meeting scheduled for 6 p.m. attendance, was required for all senior staff. Nora noticed the email, her expression concerned, but dismissed it. She wasn't part of the senior team. She left work at 5 p.m., her bag over her shoulder, and went to meet Asher at their usual diner. While a company-wide meeting took place in the auditorium, Nora was tasked with distributing agendas, moving between lines of talking employees. Greg Harlan, on stage, noticed her and stopped speaking. "It seems our coffee server misplaced herself once more," he remarked, smiling as the audience chuckled. He signaled for her to approach, accepting an agenda and displaying it dramatically. "Nora, isn't it? Tell us, what does a temporary employee think of our major initiatives?" The room erupted in jeers, with one person yelling, "Back to the copy room." An assistant recorded the incident, sharing it online with the caption, "Temp gets roasted, priceless." Greg tossed the agenda back, grinning, "Focus on retrieval, not analysis, all right?" Co-workers murmured amongst themselves, their gazes pointedly noting her simple blouse and her reserved demeanor. Nora distributed the final papers, her action steady, her expression resolute. She departed the platform, their mirth a wave she traversed, her composure a beacon that could not be lessened. At the diner, Asher was less talkative than normal, his fingers drumming on the tabletop. "Something significant is occurring," he stated, his voice subdued. "Do you trust me?" Nora affirmed, intrigued, but withholding questions. He smiled, a brief spark of amusement in his eyes. "Excellent. I require you to accompany me this evening, to a place of importance." She paused. The dust lay thick on her flats, and her shirt was a little creased, yet his hand on hers felt firm and reassuring. "Okay," she said, her pulse quickening. She wasn't sure of their destination, but with Asher she always felt secure. One lunch hour, Nora found herself alone in the Vantage Core cafeteria, rereading a memo she had typed. A group of marketing representatives, led by Claire once more, positioned themselves close by, their voices carrying. "Honestly, it's her again. Does she ever go anywhere?" Claire remarked, rolling her eyes. "I bet she's enjoying finding mistakes in her own typing." Laughter erupted, with one person playfully tossing a napkin that landed on Nora's tray. "Oops, thought you were the cleanup crew," he said, grinning. Another person shared a surreptitious photo online, captioning it "Temp lunch, lonely and lame." Comments criticized her skirt and her solitude. A coworker leaned in, feigning sweetness. "Nora, dear, why not find a permanent job? This isn't your place," they said. The cafeteria was filled with chatter, all eyes on her, anticipating a reaction. Nora carefully folded the memo, her hands remained steady, and her gaze was unwavering. She rose, carrying a tray, and departed, their jeers following but failing to affect her deeply. She possessed an inner strength they couldn't diminish. At 6 p.m., the Vantage Core boardroom was full, a palpable tension hanging in the air. Greg Harlan straightened his tie, remarking to Paul Cantor, "Some ambitious individual is likely here to dismantle us." Victor Reese checked his phone, commenting on stock values. The doors opened, and Asher Wells entered, having exchanged his jeans for a tailored suit, and without his glasses, his presence dominating the room. Nora stood behind him, wearing a simple white shirt and worn flats. The atmosphere grew still. Greg's smile disappeared. Paul's coffee cup shook. Victor's phone slid across the table. "Apologies for the delay," Asher said, adjusting his watch. "We've just resolved some unnecessary equity." His tone was even, yet each word carried weight. He indicated Nora, who remained quiet, her gaze sweeping across the room, not with anger, but with composure. A manager struggled with his phone, enlarging a photograph online, his complexion draining. "Asher Wells," he murmured. "The investor, the one, goodness." Asher didn't delay. "Vantage Corp's been poorly administered for years," he began, moving back and forth. "Ineffective departments, a harmful atmosphere, misappropriated concepts." His gaze shifted to Greg, who visibly recoiled in his seat. "Starting now, a restructuring is underway. The marketing department has been reduced by half, developments are being reviewed, and several contracts," he hesitated, allowing the word to linger, "have been terminated." The sound of papers shifting and throats clearing filled the room. Paul coughed, his earlier confidence diminished. Victor jotted down notes, perspiration forming on his forehead. Then Nora moved forward. The room fell silent, all attention on her. Her voice, when she spoke, was calm and steady, like a river finding its course. If I had come here seeking revenge, I would be indistinguishable from any of you. I'm not requesting consideration due to my role as his wife. I'm requesting consideration because I demonstrated it. She didn't raise her voice, didn't point fingers. She simply stood there, her white shirt catching the light, her gaze steady as stone. Asher turned to her, his face softening, not protective, not possessive, but awestruck. He didn't see a woman to save. He saw a partner, a force, someone who matched his every step. The execs sat frozen, their earlier laughter a ghost haunting the silence. Greg's hands trembled, the stolen pitch deck feeling like an unbearable burden. Paul's mug remained untouched, growing cold. Victor's notes were scattered, his assurance gone. Nora's statement lingered, and Asher resumed the explanation, his voice now firm. Some of you know Nora as a temporary worker, he said, but she is much more than that. She is a founder, a visionary. And you, he directed his gaze at Greg, then Paul, then Victor, attempted to diminish her. He presented the plan, new leadership, a culture overhaul, a focus on innovation over egos. The room acknowledged, too surprised to object. The meeting concluded at 7 o'clock, and the boardroom emptied, executives departing as if reprimanded. That night, Nora and Asher were on her apartment's fire escape, city lights shimmering below. You didn't need to do this, she said, her voice quiet yet resolute. Asher shrugged, his hand briefly touching hers. I didn't do it for you. She felt compelled to act, given their unsuitability to lead a company that had harmed someone like her. She acknowledged his sentiment with a smile, not for the praise, but for the honesty she saw in his expression. The details of the meeting were never revisited. Instead, they simply shared a quiet moment as night enveloped them, two individuals who had connected in a world that sought to diminish them. The following morning, Vantage Corps was in disarray. Greg Harlan was terminated, his lauded innovation revealed to be Nora's misappropriated work. News outlets published headlines. Exec fired for IP theft. Paul Cantor's department underwent significant restructuring, culminating in his resignation. Victor Reese retained his position, though his authority diminished, signified by the abandonment of his coffee mug. Rumors circulated suggesting Asher Wells possessed vast wealth and operated as a secretive investor, capable of rapidly reshaping organizations. And Nora? Her role extended beyond being Asher Wells's fiancé. She proved to be an individual whose abilities were previously disregarded. By the week's end, Vantage Corps' established leadership faced collapse, and Paul Cantor's resignation failed to prevent it. Clients abandoned his side projects, referencing ethical concerns following the emergence of Nora's stolen pitch. His LinkedIn profile disappeared, and his claims of significant achievements were ridiculed in industry discussions. A widely shared post stated, "Cantor's out, guest snapping fingers doesn't pay." His department, formerly his domain, was restructured with new personnel, and his name was removed from internal communications. Staff members discussed his departure, with some imitating his smirk as they walked past his vacant office. Paul attempted to present proposals to competitors, but was consistently rejected. Many questioned the character of a man who had spoken dismissively of a brilliant mind. The coffee mug he left behind was discarded, marking a conclusive end to his period of influence. Applause erupted from the audience, their resentment transforming into victory as Nora's revelations redefined his reputation. A week later, a journalist representing TechBit conducted a more thorough investigation, revealing details of Nora's history. She had established Neuropath, an AI startup, at the age of 27. Her algorithms were exceptionally innovative, predictive models with the potential to significantly improve healthcare. Her partners, connected to Vantage Corps' initial investors, had acted against her, altering patents to exclude her. She had contested this in court, lost all she possessed, and subsequently left. A divorce followed, with her former spouse aligning with those who prevailed. Nora remained composed. She began anew, accepting temporary employment and steadily reconstructing her life. The article gained widespread attention, highlighting the promising talent they attempted to suppress. Victor Reese's decline was gradual, yet equally severe. His former authority diminished as Nora's vision gained prominence. His professional relationships deteriorated as people remembered his past behavior, including his hurtful comments and subtle criticisms. A released email revealed his disparaging remarks about her, which was now widely circulated online under the title Reese's Big Mississippi. His presentations failed, with clients expressing concerns about his integrity. He was reassigned to a smaller workspace, while his former corner office was given to Nora, a coder she had previously guided. Public opinion turned against him, with online commentary focused on his downfall. His presence diminished, his voice barely audible during meetings. The board retained him, but as a cautionary example, a remnant of hubris, eclipsed by Nora's brilliance. The audience erupted, their hands raised in triumph as his derision dissolved. Nora's power, the definitive statement. Staff at Vantage Corps viewed the performance and recognized the pattern. The temporary employee they had disregarded was exceptional. She was a visionary who prioritized humility over retribution. Some experienced regret, recalling dismissive remarks in the break room. Others felt admiration, passing her former cubicle as if it were a sacred space. Nora did not revel in the attention. She continued her work, now operating from a modest office Asher had established, prioritizing utility over appearances. She was developing concepts, innovative systems, more equitable hiring practices, and fostering a work environment where everyone felt valued. One evening, Asher scheduled a gathering, choosing the cafeteria, where the genuine efforts occurred instead of the boardroom. Cleaners, clerks, and coders occupied the space, their expressions showing interest. "I'm not intending to lead this place permanently," Asher stated, speaking directly. "I'm here to resolve its issues, and I can't accomplish that without her." He nodded to Nora, who stood close by, her flats still showing wear, her shirt still simple. She didn't acknowledge the applause with a smile. Instead, she spoke, her words direct and honest. "Vantage Corps is failing because it prioritized egos over ideas," she stated. "I understand what it's like to be where you are, to be ignored, to be disregarded. That changes now. We are creating a company where your contributions are valued, not your position." The room was silent, completely attentive. A janitor nodded, his eyes shining. A coder raised her hand, suggesting an app she had previously hesitated to present. Nora listened intently, taking notes with sharp focus. When she finished, the cafeteria was filled with a sense of potential, rather than fear. Several weeks passed before the media frenzy began. Secretary Mary's billionaire investor. The tabloids declared, publishing photographs of Nora's flats and Asher's watch. Nora chose to disregard the attention, but a TechBit journalist continued to investigate, positioning her as the central figure of the narrative. Nora Wells didn't return. She constructed a new pathway, the article stated, outlining her startup's challenges, her unwavering spirit, and her progress. Public reaction was immediate. Many proclaimed Nora Wells as the leader needed. Vantage Corps stock, initially unstable, increased significantly as customers lauded the updated approach. Nora's selection as Chief of Culture and Innovation wasn't a simple occurrence. It signaled a significant shift. She entered her initial board meeting, not in a formal suit, but in her standard skirt and shirt. The assembled members rose, not from intimidation, but from deference. Greg's seat was vacant, Paul's nameplate removed. Victor remained composed, his voice quiet. Nora made no triumphant statements. She articulated her vision, transparency, mentorship, prioritizing ideas over hierarchy. A junior analyst proposed a solution for their AI platform. Nora acknowledged him, offering him a marker. "Let it," she instructed. The room seemed to release its breath, reinvigorated. The wedding proceeded discreetly. There was no media coverage, no spectacle. Nora wore a simple dress and Asher wore a plain suit. They selected a Brooklyn rooftop, where string lights gently swayed in the breeze. The guest list was carefully curated. It included 100 women from Vantage Corps lowest floors, receptionists, coders, and cleaners. Everyone received a personal, handwritten invitation, written in Nora's characteristic neat and welcoming style. The ceremony focused not on displays of authority, but on a reimagining of it. A clerk recited a poem she composed, her voice filled with emotion. A coder offered a toast, praising Nora for recognizing them. Asher observed, holding Nora's hand, his expression conveying volumes. This represented their community, collaboratively created. During the press conference a few days afterward, photographers crowded around, but Asher kept his remarks concise. "I didn't acquire this company because she's my wife," he stated, his voice calm. "I acquired it because they previously attempted to undermine the most exceptional woman I've ever known." He moved aside, allowing Nora to take the microphone. She spoke briefly, simply thanking her team, her gaze directed towards the women in the back, her guests, her supporters. The audience erupted, not for material gain or retribution, but for a woman who had transformed suffering into a meaningful mission. The operational center shifted. Hallways formerly bleak now resonated with innovation. A more sustainable proposal for environmentally friendly supplies was approved, her name included in the policy. The launch of a coder's application was celebrated, with her joyful expression featured on the company blog. Nora's office remained accessible, her door consistently unlocked. She dedicated extra hours, driven by genuine commitment. Her efforts encompassed every memo, every meeting, and every opportunity to restore what was damaged. One peaceful evening, Nora and Asher strolled through that familiar bookstore, their fingers lightly touching as they examined the books. She selected a volume, not Kierkegaard, but a recent AI journal, where her name appeared in a published article. A faint, genuine smile touched her lips, and she tucked it away. It wasn't necessary to voice it. The world they had created was sufficient, robust, equitable, and belonged to them. If this narrative resonated with you even slightly, please comment, share, and subscribe for additional content. One morning, Jessica Harper, a woman of simple tastes, experienced a deeply embarrassing incident at Atlantic National Bank. Her bag was emptied, coffee spilled onto her shirt, and she was pushed towards the exit, ridiculed for her sweatpants and treated with derision as if she were out of place. The lobby was filled with hushed whispers and scornful looks as she stood there, feeling frozen and utterly ashamed. However, the atmosphere abruptly shifted as her billionaire husband arrived. With a single, understated instruction, derision transformed into remorse, laughter into apprehension, and pride into complete astonishment. The bank presented a facade of smooth marble counters and subdued conversations, an environment where affluence seemed to permeate every gleaming surface. Jessica entered, dressed in gray sweatpants and a simple white t-shirt, her auburn hair pulled back in a relaxed ponytail. She possessed a striking beauty, with soft green eyes and a graceful demeanor, though her unassuming attire concealed it from view. Ethan stood nearby, dressed sharply in a tailored charcoal suit, projecting a sense of quiet confidence. They had come to open an account for the Harper Foundation, Jessica's nonprofit organization that invests millions in children's education, beginning with a substantial deposit for a new scholarship program. Ethan's phone vibrated. It was a call from abroad that he was obligated to answer. Consequently, he stepped outside, allowing Jessica to approach the counter by herself. She held a folder containing the necessary documents and offered a warm smile as she greeted the teller. Before the young clerk could reply, Vanessa Brooks, the branch manager, intervened. Vanessa, who was tall and appeared stern, with blonde hair neatly pulled back and a suit that conveyed authority, observed Jessica's clothing and paused. Her eyes narrowed, and her lips formed a thin, skeptical line. "Can I help you?" she inquired, her voice cold, as if Jessica had entered the incorrect location. Jessica maintained a calm tone. "I would like to open an account and make a deposit for the Harper Foundation." She pushed the folder across the counter, but Vanessa didn't acknowledge it. Instead, she bent over the counter, her eyes examining Jessica's sweatpants with disapproval. "And where did this money originate?" she demanded, her voice sharp enough to attract attention. "We represent a respected organization. Our clientele maintain a particular expectation. I require more than your assurance to confirm this isn't questionable." Jessica's face reddened, but she didn't object, simply opened the folder, indicating the documents. Vanessa didn't simply question her. She leaned across the counter, took Jessica's tote from her shoulder, and spilled its contents onto the floor. A phone, a wallet, keys, they scattered like refuse. "Let's see what you're truly carrying," she said, sneering, and kicked Jessica's wallet beneath a chair. Marcus clapped. "Bet it's stolen. Look at her clothes." Ryan reacted, whispering, "That's excessive." But Vanessa retorted, "Quiet, child. This is my performance." Jessica bent to collect her belongings, her hands shaking. Despite her distress, she remained composed, picking up her things as the crowd watched, their quietude feeling like a painful twist. Vanessa intervened. She grabbed the folder, examining its contents with a showy doubt, then threw it back onto the counter with a dismissive noise. "This could be fabricated, as far as I know," she stated, her voice growing louder. "People like you don't simply walk in with foundation money. What's your game?" Several clients waiting in the queue seemed restless, their gazes moving between Jessica and Vanessa. A man wearing a pinstripe suit quietly remarked to his wife, "She doesn't appear to fit in." Jessica's grip on the folder grew tighter, but she maintained her composure. "This is genuine. My husband and I—" Vanessa interrupted, advancing, her finger pointing just an inch from Jessica's face. "Don't offer me explanations." She spoke sharply. "I've seen your type, looking like you just woke up, thinking you can defraud a bank like this. I ought to summon security immediately." The room fell silent, many heads turning. A teller, Ryan, visibly flinched behind the counter, but remained silent. Jessica felt her heart race. She disliked confrontations, but she didn't react, maintaining her composure as a silent defense. The discomfort continued. Vanessa signaled a security guard, Marcus, a large man, who approached with a concerned expression. "Watch her," she ordered, her voice loud and sharp. "I don't trust this one. She's likely here to do something dishonest." Marcus crossed his arms, standing over Jessica, as Vanessa smirked. "What's in that bag?" she demanded, pointing at Jessica's plain canvas tote. "Open it, let's see what you're hiding." Jessica's voice trembled slightly, but she remained composed. "Just my phone and wallet," she replied, unzipping it to show them. Marcus escalated the situation, taking a cup of coffee from the counter and inadvertently spilling it down Jessica's shirt. The hot liquid soaked her white t-shirt and dripped onto her sweatpants. "Oops, thought you needed a wake-up call," he remarked, smirking as Vanessa laughed. "Now she looks the part, wet trash." The pinstripe guy chuckled, saying, "Perfect upgrade for a beggar," while the fur coat woman snapped a photo, giggling, "This'll go viral, scammer gets soaked." Jessica remained there, soaked and with stinging skin, her demeanor a sharp difference from their hostility. Yet the crowd's laughter continued. Vanessa scoffed, "A likely story," as Marcus searched, retrieving her keys and throwing them onto the counter as if presenting evidence. A woman in a fur coat close by chuckled, murmuring to her companion, "She looks as if she's requesting money, not making a deposit." Vanessa proceeded with her remarks. She took Jessica's folder once more, this time tearing a page from the Foundation's proposal in two and throwing it to the floor. "This is worthless, likely printed from a deceptive website," she exclaimed, her voice resonating as Marcus encouraged, "Yeah, destroy it all. She's a fraud." The man in a pinstripe suit gave a knowing smile. She should have remained where she came from. A young teller named Lisa averted her gaze, feeling embarrassed but not speaking. Jessica reached down to gather the damaged paper, her hands trembling. She remained silent, simply returning the document to its folder, her composure highlighting the harshness of their actions. The man in the pinstripe suit nodded, a mocking laugh escaping his lips, suggesting she was deceiving them. Jessica briefly closed her eyes, focusing on maintaining her composure. She didn't require their approval. She led a foundation that positively impacted lives, yet their criticism felt sharp. She had encountered this type of assessment previously, people evaluating her based on her appearance, but never with such intensity, never so openly. Her fingers brushed the folder, clinging to the truth inside as Vanessa's finger jabbed closer, grazing her cheek. "You're wasting our time," Get out before I have you escorted. As Vanessa's finger grazed her cheek, Grace stepped in closer, shoving Jessica's shoulder hard enough to make her stumble, her sneakers slipping on the wet floor from the coffee spill. Move it, con artist, out of here, he growled, while Vanessa screeched, get her gone before she stains the place. The woman wearing a fur coat applauded, saying, finally, clear out the undesirables. And the man in pinstripes threw a crumpled receipt at her, shouting, take your rubbish and leave. Jessica regained her composure, coffee spilling, paper scattering. However, she remained firm, her silence a challenge they were unable to subdue. At that moment, Ethan re-entered the room. The call concluded, concerning a business matter in Singapore, and he paused, his gaze fixed on the unfolding situation. Vanessa's finger was near Jessica's face, Marcus was nearby, and onlookers were observing. His jaw became rigid, but his voice, calm and authoritative, resonated. You are addressing my wife. The entire bank fell silent. Ethan's voice didn't merely quiet the room. It resonated like a sudden, powerful sound, halting Vanessa in the middle of an expression, her fingers still suspended in the air, as if illuminated by a focused beam of light. The murmur of the crowd ceased abruptly, giving way to a collective intake of breath that seemed to drain the air. Vanessa's strong arms fell limp, as if they had lost their function, and the man in the pinstripe suit's mouth dropped open, his tie appearing like a rope around his confident throat. Jessica's green eyes briefly met Ethan's, a hint of reassurance visible beneath her composed expression. And the bank felt constricted, as every head turned towards the man in a suit who had just overturned their reality with 5 straightforward words. Vanessa's finger fell, her face paling. Ethan did not hurry. He walked, each step a measured rhythm that resonated off the marble, his suit slicing through the disarray like a blade through paper. Jessica breathed out, her shoulders relaxing for the first time since Vanessa's finger brushed her cheek. The coffee stain on her shirt, now a symbol of perseverance as Ethan's presence enveloped her like armor. The woman in the fur coat dropped her phone. It fell to the floor with a clatter, effectively ending her chance for a viral photo moment. Ryan's eyes widened behind the counter, a smile playing on his lips. He anticipated this, and it arrived, a spectacle impossible to overlook. Marcus retreated, his hands relaxing. A palpable tension filled the space as Ethan arrived beside Jessica, his hand lightly touching her arm, a silent assertion that resonated more powerfully than any proclamation. This moment dissolved the room's self-satisfied atmosphere, leaving Vanessa's scorn devoid of impact and Marcus's confidence diminished. The man in the pinstripe suit recoiled, his wrinkled receipt still visible where Jessica had been, now symbolizing his flawed assessment, while the woman with the fur coat's laughter faded into a stifled cough, her fur seeming to envelop her in shame. Ethan's hazel eyes focused on Vanessa, conveying a sense of impending confrontation, and the audience perceived it. The situation shifted. The woman who had been the target of ridicule now commanded attention, poised to dispel every unkind remark. The man in the pinstripe suit's laughter ceased abruptly, and the woman wearing fur momentarily paused, her amusement cut short. Ethan approached Jessica, his suit impeccable, his stance radiating quiet intensity. What's going on here? He inquired, having witnessed enough. Jessica gently touched his arm, her gesture reassuring yet resolute. It's okay, Ethan. I was simply attempting to open the account. Vanessa hesitated, speaking with a slight tremor. I was unaware. Ethan's gaze sharpened, interrupting her. What did you not realize? That she is my wife, or that she is more valuable than your entire branch? A palpable tension filled the room, as murmurs spread as people understood the situation. Ethan Harper wasn't merely wealthy. He was a billionaire investor, a dominant figure with over $300 million held at Atlantic National, his name frequently appearing in financial news. Vanessa's confidence faltered, her hands moving nervously with her blazer. Sir, I was simply being careful. Ethan shook his head, his voice firm but pointed. Careful? You publicly accused her of fraud because she wasn't wearing a designer dress. That isn't carefulness. That's presumption. Jessica moved forward, her green eyes bright, her tone composed. It's not about my being his wife. It's about you treating me as if I don't fit in because of my appearance. That's the issue here, not my account. The audience moved, some agreeing, others avoiding eye contact, acknowledging the reality of the situation. Marcus retreated to his position, lowering his head, as Ryan, the teller, quietly said, "I tried to warn her." The man in the pinstripe suit straightened his tie, falling silent, while the woman with the fur coat gripped her handbag. Her enjoyment vanished. Ethan's eyes scanned the room, focusing on Vanessa. "You embarrassed her without justification. She's here to make a deposit that will assist children who would never otherwise be in a place like this. Children you would likely criticize as well." Jessica affirmed, stating the Harper Foundation isn't about appearances, it's about people. She added, "You didn't even ask." The glass doors opened, and a man in a gray suit hurried in. William Carter, the bank president, appeared, his face etched with worry. Ethan had likely contacted him, probably Ryan, and he'd left a meeting uptown. "Mr. Harper?" "Mrs. Harper," he said, breathless. "I'm so sorry, I just heard. Please, let's talk privately." He gave Vanessa a look that seemed intense, then indicated a side office. People stepped aside, their expressions showing surprise as Ethan and Jessica entered. Her sweatpants a noticeable difference from the bank's polished surfaces, yet her poise exceeding it. Inside the office, William closed the door, his hands joined, stating, "This is unacceptable. I am truly sorry. What actions can be taken?" Jessica took a seat, a folder resting on her lap, her voice steady and resolute. "I am not seeking compensation for myself. However, this must never occur again, not to any individual. Instruct your employees to look beyond outward appearances. Establish a policy of respect for every individual entering the premises regardless of attire, and collaborate with my foundation to provide underprivileged students with access to accounts and financial literacy opportunities." Ethan leaned forward, stating, "You've been entrusted with $300 million of my funds. Ensure its proper use or I will relocate it." Vanessa attempted to retract her statement, her voice trembling as Ethan looked at her intently. "Mr. Harper, I didn't intend that. I have financial obligations, I have a child," she pleaded, her blonde hair escaping its tight bun in her panic. Jessica looked at her, coffee still staining her shirt, and said coolly, "You meant every word. You judged me without asking." Ethan stepped in, towering, "She's right, you're finished here. Cry all you want, your career is over." William nodded from the doorway, "Suspension is just the beginning. A full review will be completed by tomorrow." Vanessa crumpled. Her smugness vanished as the crowd watched her fall, their earlier jeers now a bitter echo. William quickly nodded, taking notes, affirming, "Done. Everything. I'll oversee this personally." He hesitated, then announced, "Vanessa is suspended, effective immediately, pending review. This isn't representative of our values." Jessica inclined her head, considering, "That's good, but don't just issue penalties. Address the underlying issues. People are capable of change." Marcus faced his own accountability. William summoned him after Ethan and Jessica departed, his face flushed with embarrassment. "I wasn't aware of her identity." He pleaded, "Please, I need this job." His large build seemed to diminish under the president's gaze. William spoke with cold authority. "You pushed her, causing her to spill coffee. You're fortunate it's only a suspension, another infraction, and you're terminated." The pinstripe man and the woman in the fur coat retreated, their laughter fading into hushed discussions about Marcus's potential demise, the part they played in the situation clearly troubling them. Jessica's subtle triumph lingered in the atmosphere, a harsh truth they would have to accept, and the audience had reason to celebrate her ascent over their failure. Ethan grasped her hand, displaying his pride, as William assured them updates would be provided by the end of the week. The agreement was finalized, achieved through encouragement rather than intimidation. As they prepared to depart, Jessica glanced back, her gaze meeting Vanessa's through the window. Vanessa remained present, visibly anxious near the counter. "One more thing," Jessica said quietly. "We're offering a parent workshop next month for families with children experiencing difficulties in reading. Vanessa is invited to attend. We sometimes make hasty judgments without understanding the challenges others face." William seemed taken aback, then he nodded. She would be informed. They exited, Ethan's arm around her, the bank now noticeably calmer. The murmurs and giggles had ceased. Jessica's tote bag swayed beside her. Her sweatpants remained the same, yet her aura had altered the atmosphere. Vanessa remained motionless, her suspension a burden she would take with her. The man in the pinstripe suit discreetly left, his head bowed, and the woman with the fur coat refused to make eye contact, her purse offering no protection. William observed their departure, already composing reports, aware that $300 million and a valuable lesson were at stake. The morning sun touched Jessica's face, and she released a breath, feeling the tightness dissipate. Ethan looked at her, his expression gentle. "Are you all right?" She responded with a nod, a faint smile appearing. "Yes, it's not solely about us, it's about their learning process." He kissed her forehead, and they proceeded, leaving the bank behind, which seemed a little less arrogant, a little more relatable. If this narrative evoked a feeling in you, please consider liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. She endured harsh ridicule. At the most lavish financial gala in all of Europe, her unbranded satin dress, flat shoes, and hair styled simply were the subject of amusement on every velvet staircase. "It seems like a staff member has mistakenly entered the VIP lounge," one noblewoman murmured. "Who is she to be seated near the shareholder board?" Every glance seemed to overlook her, as though her presence was an unintentional oversight. Then the organizer's phone rang. Shortly afterward, the Marlowe family lawyer arrived, and unexpectedly, she became the sole heir to a billion-dollar empire. Marlowe Hall stood as a monument to wealth, its limestone facade glowing under the starlit skies of the English countryside. The mansion, with its sprawling gardens and baccarat chandeliers, served as the central hub of Europe's financial elite, having hosted the 70th birthday gala of Genevieve Marlowe, chairwoman of Marlowe and Company. A bastion of established wealth, the institution stood as the continent's oldest private bank. The atmosphere glowed with Dior gowns, Patek Philippe watches, and the delicate sound of crystal flutes. Invitations, adorned with gold leaf, listed names synonymous with powerful families. Rothschild, Agnelli, von Habsburg. No media entered the iron gates. No guest not pre-approved stepped across the marble threshold. This was a realm shaped by heritage, where lineage held value and discretion was a fault. Behind the velvet ropes, a retired professor in Hong Kong observed a private live stream, his frail hands holding a faded photo, his eyes focused on a young woman's solitary grace. Eva Sinclair entered the grand hall, her satin dress, a soft ivory, unbranded, flowing simply, reflecting the chandelier light. Her flat shoes made a quiet sound on the polished floor, her black hair tied low, with no jewelry on her wrists or neck. At 26, Eva possessed a subtle beauty, her almond eyes and gentle features glowing with a peaceful clarity, reminiscent of a still lake at dawn. Growing up in a modest Hong Kong flat, she had lost her mother at a young age and was raised by her father, a disowned heir who taught literature and rejected wealth. She had studied finance at a local university, worked as a translator for a small NGO, and maintained a frugal lifestyle, her heart molded by service rather than status. She arrived this evening as the guest of Hans Berger, chairman of Switzerland's largest investment fund, her appearance unannounced, her understated style a surprise amidst the elaborate gowns and jewels. The attendees' gazes followed Eva as she moved across the room, their murmurs cutting like shards of glass. Beatrice Langley, a British aristocrat in a $60,000 Dior gown, turned to her companion, her voice audible on the live stream. Was this a case of staff being allowed at galas now? She scoffed, her diamond tiara catching the light. Amusement spread among the assembled guests, many secretly recording Eva's simple dress with their phones. Marcus Vellier, a French hedge fund manager sporting a $15,000 Patek watch, smiled from his table. "Observe her wrist, not even a Cartier," he remarked, prompting laughter from his companions. Eva's fingers lightly touched her sash. Her expression remained calm, yet the atmosphere was thick with scorn. Her father's face on the live stream became strained, the insults feeling like a blow to his pride, and the audience pulsed with anger, a spark awaiting ignition. The ridicule intensified, evolving into a planned attack on Eva's appearance. A group of heiresses, adorned in $40,000 gowns, arranged themselves in a semicircle, their voices a poisonous chorus. She likely stumbled and unintentionally, one hissed, flinging a silk napkin towards Eva's feet, or worse, his short-term guest. Another displayed a jeweled phone, exclaiming, "She's a thrift store attendee. I bet she's never experienced a gala." Phones illuminated, their private messages harsh, while Marlowe focused on her, taking pictures of her plain shoes. A German banker loudly declared, "She's lowering the standards of this event." The crowd's laughter felt like a public condemnation, every word a sting against Eva's quietness. Her father's face on the live stream showed distress, each insult hurting his daughter's honor. The audience's anger escalated, their hearts racing, indignant at this group's persistent cruelty. The upper class's disdain became hostile as Eva proceeded through the hall, their taunts a deliberate challenge. A cluster of banking heiresses in $45,000 couture gowns created a blockade, their voices a spiteful blend. "She's a detriment to Marlowe's reputation," one scoffed, knocking a champagne flute's rim to scatter droplets by Eva's feet. "Return to the slums, darling." Someone gestured with a jeweled phone, declaring, "Her dress resembles a tablecloth. I doubt she's ever attended a genuine gala." Mobile phones captured the moment, with private messages flooding with hashtags like Marlowe mistake, focusing on her simple shoes. A Russian tycoon exclaimed, "She's a disrespect to every legacy present." The audience's laughter felt overwhelming, each comment a sharp blow against Eva's composed demeanor. Her father's expression on the live stream conveyed deep distress, every remark a painful injury to his daughter's honor. The audience's anger escalated, their hearts racing, outraged by this deliberate humiliation, their fury burning to challenge the elite's pride. Genevieve Marlowe, the evening's host, came down the grand staircase, her $100,000 emerald necklace sparkling. She stopped close to Eva's table, her silver hair elegant, her voice filled with disdain. "I'm not sure who you are, dear," she stated, loud enough for the live stream to record. This table was designated for individuals sharing the name. Her companions chuckled, their jewelry sparkling, cameras recording Eva's composed expression. "Maybe you would feel more at ease with the staff," Genevieve suggested, indicating a side entrance. The attendees applauded, their derision a powerful surge, their hushed conversations murmuring, "Hatch, an uninvited guest." Eva's almond-shaped eyes met Genevieve's, unwavering, though a tremor ran through her. Her father's hands shook during the live stream, the host's actions feeling like a painful blow to his daughter's self-esteem. The audience's anger intensified, their hearts aching for Eva, and they were outraged by this public humiliation. Genevieve Marlowe's contempt grew sharper, her statements intended as a calculated attack to harm Eva in front of the global elite. "You're not just out of place, you're an embarrassment," she stated, her $100,000 emerald necklace sparkling as she indicated Eva's satin dress. "Hans Berger seemed to have made a questionable decision in inviting you." A wave of laughter spread through her group, their diamonds sparkling, and cameras focused on Eva's simply styled hair. "You're a charity case, not a guest," Genevieve remarked, her words carried by the live stream's concealed microphones. "This hall is for established figures, not cast-offs." The attendees echoed, their disapproval a rising tide, their private conversations swirling. Had Marlowe felt shame? Eva's almond-shaped eyes held a controlled intensity, but her smile remained steady, a defense against the disappointment. Her father's hands trembled during the live stream. The public humiliation felt like a sharp blow to his daughter. The audience's anger was overwhelming, their sympathy directed towards Eva, while they were outraged by this woman's betrayal, now visible to everyone. The disapproval of the powerful became cruel, their words a poisonous chorus. Sylvia Reinhardt, a Dutch media heiress wearing a $50,000 couture dress, moved closer, her voice distinct within the room. She seemed insignificant, likely paid to attend, she remarked, her words carried by the live stream's concealed microphones. Her associates concurred, one adding, "Her father must also be unremarkable. No wonder he isn't present." Numerous notifications appeared, private messages rapidly spreading, focusing on Eva's simply styled hair. A British lord's daughter exclaimed, "She is a disgrace to Marlowe's heritage." The laughter intensified, each remark feeling like a painful blow aimed at Eva's heart. Her father's face on the live stream conveyed immense distress, each falsehood a blow to his daughter's reputation. The audience's outrage surged, their anger a powerful force directed at this planned act of cruelty, hoping for justice to dismantle the elite's sense of superiority. The gala's staff, accustomed to remaining unseen, participated in the derision with understated remarks. A waiter, offering champagne, stopped close to Eva, speaking in a quiet but clear tone. "Miss, the service entrance is that way," he said, gesturing toward a side door, his smirk reflected by nearby guests. "We don't typically seat guests of your kind at the main tables," he added, eliciting laughter from the elite. Numerous onlookers captured Eva's serene face, their private conversations circulating, a staff mistake. The crowd's approval felt like a stifling wave, their arrogance a public humiliation. Eva straightened her sash, her almond eyes steady, but her father's live stream feed displayed his face falling, the staff's involvement a new disappointment. The audience's anger intensified, their hearts racing at this display of institutional cruelty, their fury ignited, threatening to destroy the hall's dignity. The gala's staff, instructed to protect Marlowe Hall's reputation, added their disdain to the elite's insults with sharp remarks. A maitre d', elegantly dressed, stopped close to Eva's table, his voice dripping with derision. "Miss, this section is reserved for invited guests only," he stated, ensuring the livestream could hear. He indicated her unbranded dress with a gesture, and a smirk spread across his face, reflected by those around him. "Your attire suggests you're in the incorrect area," he added, prompting laughter from the attendees. Phones recorded Eva's calm expression as private messages circulated, labeling the incident a gala oversight. The audience's agreement felt oppressive, their confidence a public embarrassment. Eva straightened her sash, her almond eyes steady, but her father's live stream revealed his face falling, the staff's involvement a new injury. The audience's anger intensified, their hearts racing at this institutional failing, their fury burning against the hall's reputation. Murmurs grew louder, the guests' disapproval becoming a worldwide event through the private live stream. A Monaco princess's cousin published an unidentified intruder, focusing on Eva's simple dress. A guest messaged, calling her a fake, a claim shared by a banking heir. The son of a French diplomat loudly suggested she forged her invitation, causing laughter to ripple through the hall. Hidden comments on the live stream surged with demands. "Eject her. Imposter." A woman wearing a $30,000 Valentino gown exclaimed, "She's humiliating Marlowe Hall. Someone stop this." Eva's hands remained still, her almond-shaped eyes focused on the distance. Her father's face on the live stream conveyed immense suffering, each online criticism feeling like a personal insult to his daughter. The audience's outrage was palpable, their emotions aligned with Eva's, yearning for this worldwide humiliation to cease. The guests' harshness escalated as they spread damaging stories, their voices a poisonous torrent intensified by the live stream. A Spanish duke's daughter moved closer, her $60,000 tiara sparkling, and said in a noticeable tone, "She's a fraud, likely coerced Berger to gain entry." Her companions acknowledged, their diamonds reflecting the light, one stating, "Her father's probably not even real, just a story to trick her here." Phones illuminated, private messages overflowing with falsehoods, as someone speculated, enlarging the image of Eva's loosely tied hair. A London financier exclaimed, "She's an imposter. Paulo has been deceived." The laughter resonated, each rumor a painful blow aimed at Eva's heart. Her father's image on the live stream displayed a face filled with anguish, each falsehood a hurt to his daughter's reputation. The audience's anger surged, their sympathies with Eva, their frustration a powerful force against this harmful accusations, eager for the truth to expose the elite's deceptions. A change occurred when Genevieve's secretary, a perceptive woman in a professional suit, visibly lost color during a phone call. Her phone vibrated repeatedly, and her voice shook as she spoke quietly to an assistant. The attendees observed, their quiet conversation stopping, phones being put down. The secretary quickly approached Genevieve, speaking urgently but softly, stating, "It's the Marlowe family's legal firm. The new heir is arriving immediately." The hall became still, the sound of crystal glasses being replaced by a feeling of anticipation. Eva remained composed, her satin dress unaffected by the disruption, her almond-shaped eyes peaceful. Her father's face on the live stream appeared gentler, a brief sign of hope visible in his expression. A palpable sense of excitement and apprehension filled the room, a mix of anger and anticipation hinting at an impending revelation. 10 minutes passed, and then the large doors opened, revealing a man in a gray suit, Edward Grayson, the personal lawyer for the deceased Alfred Marlowe, Genevieve's grandfather. He carried a sealed envelope and a single sheet of paper. The assembled group made way for him, their jewels losing their brilliance, their expressions strained. Grayson spoke, his voice calm amidst the quiet, stating, "By directive of Alfred Marlowe's last will, the board of Marlowe and Company is required to convene without delay." He hesitated, his eyes meeting Eva's. "The only beneficiary of the Marlowe banking legacy is here this evening." A murmur went through the attendees, phones shaking, and the live stream became chaotic. The question arose, who is it? Not Genevieve? Eva subtly touched her sash, her expression unreadable, while her father, watching the live stream, showed a flash of pride. A palpable sense of expectation filled the room, transforming from resentment to amazement as the reality emerged. Grayson advanced, opening the envelope with careful precision. According to his statement, Alfred Marlowe's son, Henry, had been disowned for marrying a woman of Asian descent, a decision made contrary to the family's preferences. Henry and his wife had subsequently raised a daughter in seclusion, away from this society. That daughter is Eva Sinclair. He presented a document, a DNA test result, offering undeniable confirmation of Eva's heritage. According to Alfred's will, Eva is the sole heir to Marlowe and Company, possessing full control of its assets and board. A palpable stillness fell over the hall. Genevieve's emerald necklace seemed suddenly heavy, her face paling. Those guests who had previously mocked Eva appeared visibly uncomfortable, their phones momentarily forgotten. Eva's almond-shaped eyes met Grayson's, her silence radiating a powerful intensity. Her father's tears flowed during the live stream, his exile now appearing justified. The audience felt a surge of emotion, their anger shifting into celebration, as Eva's truth emerged, humbling the elite. The board members seated at the central table stood as one, their faces ashen. Genevieve's voice faltered, This is a mistake. But Grayson's gaze remained firm. The will is final. You and all other Marlowe branches are removed from ownership and the board, effective immediately." A collective gasp swept through the room. Their wealth felt inconsequential, their standing vanished. Beatrice Langley's tiara dislodged, Marcus Vellier's watch ceased to function, Sylvia Reinhardt's couture dress appeared to droop. The live stream became a global phenomenon, with Eva Sinclair dominating social media, her quiet elegance quickly becoming iconic. The downfall of the elite was a striking display, their pride diminished to nothingness under Hans's direction. Genevieve's complexion paled, her emerald necklace appearing like an antique, and her name rose to prominence as a warning. Beatrice Langley's online presence crumbled, her derision becoming a widely shared embarrassment. Marcus Vellier's hedge fund experienced a sharp decline, his dismissiveness a visible failure. Media stocks of Sylvia Reinhardt crashed, her hashtags a social scar. The Spanish Duke's daughter hid her face, her tiara no shield against the live stream's captions. She mocked Eva Sinclair. The staff who'd sneered were escorted out, their careers ended. The guests who'd laughed were shunned, their influence null. Eva stood tall, her low-tied hair a quiet crown, her almond eyes unyielding. The live stream captured the elite's fall, comments flooding. They deserved it, at Eva triumphs. A wave of emotion swept through the audience, shifting anger to a palpable sense of pride. Eva's triumph and Hans's response, a force that diminished the world's wealthiest, resonated deeply. Eva stood, her satin dress shimmering, her almond eyes gentle yet firm. Applause erupted from the audience, mirroring the downfall of the elite's arrogance as it yielded to her understated strength. Hans Berger, the Swiss investment fund chairman, rose from his seat, his movement commanding absolute silence across the hall. "You challenged Eva Sinclair, the rightful successor of Marlowe and Company," he stated, his steel-gray eyes blazing. Your wealth, your titles are meaningless when compared to her legacy. He produced his phone, showing a series of canceled deals, banking contracts with Beatrice Langley, investment partnerships with Marcus Vellier, trade agreements with Sylvia Reinhardt, all terminated. Your names have been removed from my fund's network, he announced, his gaze fixed on Genevieve. You have forfeited more than a seat, you have lost your future. The crowd's gasps echoed, their expectations shifting under his command. The live stream quickly became a worldwide trend, with comments appearing rapidly. He's unstoppable. At Eva, justice. Eva appeared composed, her satin dress gleaming, her victory confirmed by Han's unwavering power. The audience erupted, their spirits lifting as his global retribution humbled the elite's arrogance. Those who'd previously mocked now rose to their feet. With lowered heads and empires seemingly shaken, the heiresses who had discarded napkins fell silent, their private conversations ceasing. The waiter who had previously mocked Eva moved away, his tray visibly trembling. The Monaco princess's cousin removed her post, effectively diminishing her impact. Genevieve's hands shook, her necklace appearing as a memento of a collapsed era. Eva advanced, her voice remaining gentle, as it was upon her arrival. I don't require diamonds to understand my identity, she stated, her words sharply dividing the atmosphere. But thank you, as your patronizing glances clarified precisely why my grandfather did not bequeath this empire to you. The hall remained still, no one willing to stir, their derision a diminishing resonance. The audience's esteem grew, Eva's demeanor a flame that consumed the elite's harshness into nothingness. The consequences were swift, a judgment conveyed without utterance. Genevieve's position on the board was terminated. Her name was removed from Marlowe and Compy's history. Beatrice Langley's social reputation declined sharply. Her ridicule became a widely shared embarrassment. Marcus Vellier's hedge fund underwent audits. His derision became a matter of public record. Sylvia Reinhardt's media holdings experienced difficulties. Her promotional labels were deemed inappropriate. Those employees who had previously displayed contempt were let go. Their professional prospects ended. The attendees who had previously expressed amusement dispersed, their invitations were invalidated, and their standing diminished. Eva proceeded towards the large doors, her simple shoes firm, her satin dress a subtle symbol of elegance. Her father's face appeared on the live stream, radiating pride, his daughter's success a reflection of their combined resilience. The spectators' hearts raced, their frustration shifting to admiration, Eva's win a tribute to her poise. The hall's prominent figures stirred, their phones ringing with urgent calls to their staff. Schedule a meeting with Miss Sinclair, one exclaimed, his voice wavering. Now, she directs Marlowe, a fact passed around in hushed tones. Her Dior gown offered no defense against reality. The board members lingered, their positions rendered insignificant, their prospects now dependent on Eva's decisions. The live stream documented the disarray, with comments rapidly accumulating. She appears invincible, having established Eva's guidelines. Eva halted at the entrance, her almond-shaped eyes briefly surveying the room. She was unaccompanied, without security or a retinue. She entered the night, leaving behind a procession of the world's wealthiest individuals vying for her notice, their gestures a quiet acknowledgement of her power. She possessed no aristocratic lineage, no jewelry adorning her wrist, no familiar name among them, but she held one distinction that none at Marlowe Hall did, a heritage that compelled the world's elite to show deference. Like, share, and subscribe for more stories like this, and tell us in the comments, would you have maintained your silence as Eva did?